Right, so a by-election loss triggered by Keir Starmer's appalling anti-ceasefire stance on a Labour stronghold council has seen a third independent councillor occupy a former Labour seat just in the last 4 months. And this seat was won on a staunch pro-Palestine position, as well as pointing out the abject failure of the Labour-dominated council to deal with the issues that matter to local people too, from rubbish collections to fly tipping to an appalling council tax hike with little offered in return. But this wasn't just a loss of another council seat for Labour, this was an absolute beasting for Labour. A thumping loss, as people rallied behind an independent candidate originally from Labour, disgusted by Labour under the current leadership and the direction it's taking, but no less dedicated to the local area and to being on the right side of history internationally. The local people flocked to them. Deserted Labour, the party that has taken them for granted for too long and is being run into the floor by the Starmer regime, and every other Labour councillor on Newham Borough Council must surely know it now too. Right, so Newham Independent Group socialist candidate Sophia Naqvi romped home to victory in the Plaistow North by-election last night, taking a seat vacated by a former Labour councillor who had resigned from the party themselves and as a councillor as well, due to the disgusting genocidal position of the party leader Keir Starmer with regards to Israel and Gaza. Now, the Newham Independent Group have only recently been formed, really, principally around the election of the first ever independent councillor, another former Labour figure in themselves, Mahmoud Mirza, who won his seat back in July, showing the ill feeling towards Labour is about more than just the current Israel-Gaza stance that the party's taking, since this took place before the most recent escalation on October 7th, exposing a party that is failing Newham locally on all manner of local issues, but also in part the awful treatment of Mirza himself. He was actually the victim of a Labour campaign against him to discredit him, all covered in the Al Jazeera Labour Files documentaries. It was so prominent, they're still available on YouTube to watch, and it's essential watching if you really want to know how Labour operates these days behind the scenes. It's eye-opening stuff. Anyway, Mirza left Labour when Starmer decided to suspend both Newham constituencies for blatantly factional reasons, but the final straw for Mirza personally was that he had made it onto the ballot for the Labour National Executive Committee elections before finding himself spuriously suspended, as so many members have been, and that then barred him from getting elected. This is when Newham independents were effectively born. Now, just the other day, a Labour defection on Newham Borough Council saw Mirza joined by Zubair Gulumusin, who resigned from Labour with a storming speech, live on camera at that, at a rally, and which I covered in video afterwards, bringing this now Newham Independent Group up to 2, and last night Sophia Naqvi made it 3. So how badly did Labour get rinsed then, Damo? Well, now that you know how new Newham independents actually are, it makes last night's result all the more astonishing at how far they've come in such a very, very short time, because after essentially having come out of nowhere, born out of the disgust for what Labour has become under Starmer just in this last several months, and in light of the awful pro-Israel position the parliamentary party is wedded to now, Naqvi last night took 46.3% of the vote. And this is all the more remarkable given Naqvi was, until last month, still a Labour member and women's officer for East Ham CLP. Labour itself lost over more than half of its vote share, down over 39%, finishing a distant second to Naqvi on just 27%. I will add my own commiserations to my own party's candidate here, the Green Party. Their candidate Zara Kayre, I hope I'm saying that right, an autism campaigner at that, as the Greens lost vote share here as well. But when this by-election came about due to, in principle, to Labour's position on Israel, this was very much the reason given for the resignation of the former Labour incumbent. It is a testament to the campaign of the Newham independents that they pulled off the stunning win they've achieved, because local disenfranchisement and disappointment in Labour saw people see them as the viable alternative. Reasons behind the scale of the win then? Well, according to local website Open Newham, the battle to win Plaistow North was not one that was taking place in the streets, but actually the mosques. The significant Muslim population and where their vote ended up going was a reflection of the Muslim vote nationwide, actually. A vote that Labour used to be able to attract over 70% of amongst the national vote, amongst this particular demographic. But now polling indicates it can barely pull in 5% of that vote. Such is the disgust Muslim voters have now for Labour and for the Starmer regime. Muslim voters are deserting Labour. And it's hardly surprising when Labour's position is pro-Israel and by association anti-Palestine. But it isn't even all about that, because Islamophobia has become such a huge issue now in the party. Identified by the Ford report several years ago now, the Labour leaks report before that, and numerous complaints in the meantime that have all just been ignored, because the issue of Islamophobia is treated as secondary to anti-Semitism. All racism is wrong, yet Labour remains, well, very much is riddled with it, because it only appears to worry about what is happening against Jewish people these days and ignoring everyone else. And that is not right. That is horrible. That is absolutely wrong. And people of various ethnic and ethno-religious backgrounds are deserting the party as a result. When you consider the multiculturalism of London generally, that ethno-religious diversity, you can't win and retain political ground locally unless you are uniting people from multiple different faiths and backgrounds. And Labour under Starmer does nothing but divide those communities now. And we've already seen this end game play out, and Labour are fearing a repeat of that. You see, Tower Hamlets Borough Council, before its most recent set of local elections in 2022, was Labour dominated as well, just like Newham. Prior to that 2022 election, Labour held 42 seats. The equivalent of the Newham Independents, the Aspire party there, held 2, with the Tories, the Lib Dems and an independent all having 1 seat each on that council. But after 2022, the first local election here in the Starmer era, Labour lost over half of its seats, falling to just 19, with Aspire basically taking them all, rising to 24 and taking control of that council. Right now, Newham, which is a larger council, as of today has 59 Labour, 3 Newham Independents and 2 Green councillors. According to the speech given by Zubair Gulumusen on the night of his resignation, there are some 18 Labour councillors on Newham Borough Council right now who are also Muslim. He's called for them to join him too, to join with Mahmoud Mirza and now Sophia Naqvi as well. And who knows? With the direction of travel here, Labour have every reason to fear the 2026 local elections, when Newham is contested again, which may see another Tower Hamlets happen, and indeed we may see further defections yet. Further resignations, as Starmer will not meaningfully alter his stance on the Middle East. He's bought and paid for by the Israel lobby, and voters are catching up to that fact and taking their votes elsewhere fast. He might think the general election is still in the bag, though. Results like this imply that might not be true at all. Congratulations to Sophia Naqvi. Plystone North have a belting new councillor, definitely someone fighting for them now, and I will watch the growth of the Newham Independent Group with great interest. Thanks for watching. I hope you found the video useful. Please like, share and subscribe if you did. More content out daily. Please do have your say on this story in the comments below and be part of the conversation. Meanwhile, here's a video recommendation where I covered the resignation of Zubair Gulumusen the other day. His resignation speech made my cheeks burn, it did. So I can't imagine how Labour figures must have felt, and he did indeed put it to his fellow Muslim councillors to come and join them, stand up against the Islamophobic nature that Starmer's Labour has become. Otherwise, what exactly are they standing for at all? I'll hopefully catch you on the next vid. Cheers, folks.